I met a gypsy.
Like, think of the talent pool of kids that have tried to make the NFL. Just in the history.
Oh, my God,
In the history of the NFL.
I got a stat for you. Ready? They say, I believe only 27,000 people have ever played Major League Baseball, which means that if every player in the history of the sport, living or dead, was gathered together, they would only fill half of a stadium. Meanwhile, every game, the entire stands are filled with people who wish they could be MLB players every single night.
Yeah.
The history of the sport, 27,000.
Yeah, dude, that is crazy. Think about the amount of kids, adults, people that have played baseball with the ambition of being good enough to be in the MLB, right? And
it's half a stadium one time.
So Supercross would be insane, like hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people, right?
Yeah.
But the pool of people that have tried to get there is quite a lot smaller.
Yes.
So you think about the best of all time, like Ricky Carmichael is not an athletic freak.
Doesn't look it. That's for sure.
He has like that speed limit or that clock. Like for me, like I just start going so fast, I can't fucking see shit properly.
Yeah, same.
But it's at like 95 Ks an hour. Like, and Toby Price does 140 or 150 before he gets that. So it's neurology. Like there's something going on. It's like a computer screen refreshing for like a video game. Like you get these crazy high refresh rates and then you can see movement so clearly. We literally have that in our eyes.
Didn't you mention a thing about the eye stability also?
Yep. And there's like 6 or 7 muscles that are around your eyes. Yeah. And then those muscles, there's some scientific correlation within athletes for that sort of shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I'm so bad. I start getting double vision. And as I get older, it gets worse.
Yeah.
I start getting double vision. And
when
then,
you ride?
Yeah. It started. I always
scary.
had, dude. So as a kid, I had to get glasses when I was like 8, which is pretty young to get glasses.
Same.
Oh, okay. All right. So eventually I had contacts. So people don't realize. If you see me on a plane, you'll be like, oh my God, those Coke bottles. My vision is horrible. But not just the distance vision. I always had this problem of like certain angles I would like lose the ability to keep my eyes straight. And it was misdiagnosed forever. And they're like, does this make it better or worse? And I'm like, better. And they're like, no, it should be worse. And I'm like, no. And then finally, by the time I was about 30, I finally found an eye doctor who I'm like, oh my God, what you're saying actually aligns what I'm experiencing. They're like, oh, one of your eye muscles is just like 1 millimeter longer on the right eye than the left eye. And we could align that. We could fix that.
Huh.
But at the time, I wasn't struggling that bad. I'll be honest. This is the 2 times it would come out. When I was really hammered. Or I was really tired.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm doing normal, if I'm living my life the right way, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then one day, I try to race 1 or 2 of the GNCCs every year. And then one year, I raced one, and about an hour in, I couldn't keep my eyes went crossed. And now you have no depth perception. None. Yeah. So I had to ride this 2-hour race, about an hour and a half of it, with one eye. And it's impossible. You have no depth perception. Yeah. And it's progressively now I'm at the point where like 50% of the time I ride, and it's mountain biking too, it happens. And the moment I stop, it's fine. And I'm like, so there's some sort of constant depth perception focus that eventually is fatiguing my eyes and they can't do it anymore.
Yep.
That was a long story to explain your point.
Yeah.
There's something, and nothing, not running, no other thing I've done has tripped my eyes up like a mountain bike or a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Dude, only that.
I always think about just the physics that's involved. So like we just shot this Lawrence project in Florida, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but it involved Jet and Hunter basically just like seeing a distance and jumping a distance.
Yeah. On the bikes. Yeah. On the dirt bikes. Yeah.
And it's like, they just fucking did it.
Oh, I know. I know.
Physics.
It doesn't make sense.
There's physics at play here. Like, that's a 220-pound motorcycle that you're controlling with just your right wrist.
Yep.
Like, there is so much going on, right? Yep. And then you've got dirt that's moving and constantly moving. Like, you're never just driving. There's always wheel spin that you've got to account. Like, the physics that's taking place. Because when you strip back, I think just humans are weird in the fact that we forget every single day that I'm not looking through a window in my head. Like there's like light that's hitting my optic nerve.
Oh, the whole thing is crazy.
It's just like, so we're just seeing.
It's upside down even, right?
I don't know.
Is that supposedly the deal?
Oh, I think it gets inverted.
Yeah, something like that.
So it gets flipped.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're just literally living in a fucking dream world. So there's some people that in this dream world that we're living in, motocross is crazy easy. With all these factors.
It is talent. It is talent.
There's this born, we just have this born ceiling. Yeah. And so, but I think moto has always had this, like, this is the longest way of me saying that. Well, I don't think we've entered the genetics era until Chase Sexton. So, like, I think we've got now
the physical genetics, not just the eye, and
in the way that you would say the NFL, right?
Yes.
So, like, let's go Ricky Carmichael. Mm-hmm. He would not have been professional in any physical sport.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe golf, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, but in terms NFL. The NBA, like these benchmark physicality sports, Ricky Carmichael is not making those things, right?
He's 5'5" or something.
But what he had was these like mental genetics.
Yes.
That speed ceiling, the fuck I need to hit the brake ceiling, the eyes, like all of that internal stuff.
Yes. Reacting to, he felt something and an automatic response to fix it in a nanosecond, all this. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And so he's the greatest motocross rider of all time.
Yeah.
So then I think that really doubles down on this whole, in motocross you just got to work hard and anybody can do. So it's like that we're a victim of that in a sense. And it's,
good point.
You think about how many at-bats kids make at being a professional motor. Like the sample size is so small. So what's the odds then that you have a guy with the genetics of like Chase or the guy with the genetics of Jet?
Yes.
So it's like those dudes didn't have a chance to come through the system yet, in a sense.
I know
like
what you mean.
Those genetics got pushed elsewhere.
Yep.
So I think it's Supercross and motocross is just now getting to the point where it's like, oh, we've entered the freakazoid era where we're seeing like Chase Sexton is a Rob Gronkowski on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
it's like this physical, like
physical
just
gifts.
A specimen.
Yes.
And it's perfect.
Yep.
Any bigger and he's too big. Any smaller and he's too small.
Yep.
And it's like he's got these powerful legs, and then you look at Jet, he's got this thick neck. Yeah. Like they're these more
is his
physical.
Neck wider than his waist, I think?
Jet.
Right? Like, doesn't it look like that? He's got the skinniest waist and the thickest neck. Like, that's your point. Like, what a specimen.
Yeah. Yes. So that we're entering into this era now, I think. And it's purely because we've had enough time for the sample size to grow large enough.
To finally get one.
And it hasn't been a factor as much in the past, you know, like because the roadmap was Ricky Carmichael. It's just like literally anybody could do it. But
reps.
It's like, not really. Like we've been kind of lied to in a sense, you know.
Because the talent that he had was not one we could see.
Exactly.
It wasn't his height or strength, which is what we, in every other sport, it's they clocked the NFL player in a 40-yard dash.
Yep.
And you're like, that's his physical gift. It's on a watch.
Yep.
These processing eye movement things, we cannot measure that, at least not yet. Maybe 100 years from now, we'll figure that out. That's why I've always said, the racers, you've interviewed tons of them. I've interviewed tons of them. These are not well-educated people. They do not sound dumb.
No.
Do any of these riders come on here and sound like doofuses? No. But my dad used to always say
one-dimensional maybe, but fucking
just because
smart
of their,
at what they do.
Just because of their life focus.
Exactly.
But my dad always used to say this. He's like, do you think your brain could process the information and the speed that their brain is able to do and you'd be an idiot? There's no way. Like, they have a brain talent. Yeah. So that's why these can be guys who didn't really go to school past 12 years old, 14 years old, but when you hold the conversation with them, they don't sound like morons.
No.
And they're also worldly in their own way as well, but they've all got a brain gift.
Yeah.
And maybe now we're finally getting to they're also physical gifts. Yeah, and to your point, maybe there's a chance that you just played the other sports when you were the biggest, strongest, fastest kid in your school. Maybe. I'm just making this up on the spot. I'd never heard this theory until now. But maybe that's what always happens.
Yeah. Well, I think
you just play basketball.
That is what happens.
Yeah.
And so the UFC is a really good example of this, right? So John Jones, heavyweight champion, baddest dude in the sport, period. Like he's probably the gnarliest dude on planet Earth, right?
Okay.
his brothers all play in the NFL.
There you go.
So one of them, well, I mean, he won a bunch of Super Bowls for the Patriots when Brady was there. Like, they're a crazy genetic family. Yes. And then he just randomly kind of deviated away, right?
Yep.
Deviated away a little bit, went into a boxing gym and was like, and then he did wrestling in school. Yep. He was just like, dude, I could just rip these guys apart, literally. And he's the best UFC fighter of all time. So it's like, there would be so many cases where it's just like, this genetic dude, just you put him over here and you do that, and it's like, he's the baddest guy in the world.
It does evolve like that, because I think there was a time when, does anyone remember track and field? Does anyone remember that this existed? Yeah. Like, there was a time, if you were the fastest or the best runner or the best jumper, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And now, if you're the fastest dude, you're playing soccer or you're playing football.
NFL, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's his name? Is it Tariq? Do you follow football much?
Yeah. Tyreek Hill. They showed how he would compete. He's not much slower than Usain Bolt.
Dude.
Yes.
But he's also going, I'm a lot fucking richer than Usain Bolt.
Exactly.
Like, I ain't doing that.
So eventually, same thing. Like UFC, if you were the baddest dude in your school, that wasn't even, first of all, the sport didn't even exist, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
20 years ago it was on the fringe.
30 this year is when it started.
Yes, so it didn't even exist. Yeah. So only 20 years ago did it even become viable. Only 10 years ago did it become, I could also make millions over
attractive,
there.
Yeah.
Yes. So you siphon off. Eventually, the athletes are like, I could try that. Now, that is asking you to fight. That's certainly not any less violent or dangerous than anything else.
Yeah.
But still, you're going to siphon off some of the athletes. I mean, that's it. Track and field, why are you even doing it? If you're that fast, do the thing that pays you tons of money.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Get in UFC if you're a bad dude.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.